Welcome back to Start a Sourdough Journey. This is so exciting, you guys. We've made it to episode 5 and all of our hard work is going to pay off today. After you've allowed your dough to proof overnight, if you're working on the same time schedule that I am, in the morning you're going to bring it in from your very cold garage or your refrigerator, and you're going to set it on the counter and you're going to let it rest for about an hour. After your dough has rested for about an hour, you're going to see that the edges of your dough are rounded. It's proofing really well. You've got a little bit of bubbles here. You can look on the side of your bowl and you can see that you've got some wonderful bubbles blooming. You're going to dust your counter generously. Remember, this is a wet dough, so a little bit of flour is fantastic. These are a fabulous tool. They're like a hand, but the dough doesn't stick to them. So you're going to dump your dough out onto the counter. And onto the flour. It's kind of hard to work left-handed. And then you're going to put a little bit of flour on the top of your dough. Press it out just a little bit. Don't destroy all the bubbles that you've worked so hard to build in your dough. And you're going to cut it in half. This is a 2-loaf dough. And you're going to kind of give it a rough shape. You'll see that I have one round and one loaf Banneton. So one of them I'm going to shape into a round. And I'm going to let it sit. And the other one, if you have the loaf one, this one is just a little bit harder to shape. Just going to push it under, shape it into a loaf. This is just a really rustic kind of shaping. And then you're going to take your saran wrap, your cling wrap, and put it over the top and let your dough rest for about 30 minutes. While your dough is resting on the counter, you're going to want to prepare your Bannetons. These are your Bannetons, and I love rice flour. Rice flour is the best thing to coat your Bannetons with because when it comes to sticking, which your dough will if you don't dust and flour generously. Our dough has rested on the counter for 30 minutes, so we're going to give it its final shape and put it into the Banneton. Let's scoop this little guy over here, and let's work with this one first. Again, you'll see the stickiness, but the beauty you can see is these bubbles. Amazing. So you're going to push your dough around to kind of firm it up. Bring bubbles to the top. Just stick to your hands, if that's okay. And then you're going to turn it over into your Banneton so that the bottom of your loaf is facing upwards. And then you just kind of go around and you gently pinch so that it all seals together. You'll do it again after it's rested for a while. There you go. It's all set to rest for another 2 to 4 hours. I'll do the same for the loaf. And what we do is cover them to let them rest and rise. And in a little while, we'll bake. Hallelujah, it is time to bake. We've let our dough rest in our Banneton. It's probably been, about 2 hours. It's quite warm in our home. We've got the fireplace going on this snowy day, but you see that the bubbles have developed. The other way that you know that it's ready is you press on it. I need to flour my finger better, but you press on it, and if it keeps an indent in it, it's ready to bake. So we're going to take our parchment paper, turn it upside down, set it on the counter, remove your Banneton slowly. You don't want to tear anything. And if you have some extra rice flour on it, just use a brush. Brush it off. Gently, of course. And you'll see, this is what I love about rice flour. Regular all-purpose flour, bread flour would clump with the moisture of your dough, and then you've got those flour spots, which is fine, but I like rice flour better. You're going to use a sharp object, a knife. In this case, I'm using a razor blade. Sorry guys, but my lame, which is what I normally use, broke the other day, and I just haven't had a chance to replace it. I like to put about a 1/2 inch deep, just a crisscross on the dough. And you have to do that because you need for the steam to escape through this cut, and that's what gives you the rise on your dough. If you didn't do it, it would just start popping out in different places, kind of where the bubbles are or something, and it would be extremely unsightly. I preheated my oven to 500 degrees, and I put my cast iron pot in there to heat up. It's extremely hot. Ooh, look at that steam. And you're just gonna lift your parchment paper, set it down inside, cover it up again, and put it in the oven for 25 minutes. Reduce your heat down to 450 degrees, and after 25 minutes, we'll take the lid off and see what kind of rise we have. Okay, it's been 25 minutes in the oven. Let's see where we're at. We're gonna take the lid off. Ooh, look at that beautiful rise. Woo! Put it back in for 20 more minutes. All right, it's been 20 minutes in the oven without the lid. We're gonna take it out and admire its beauty. Look at how gorgeous. Don't make the mistake of cutting into it immediately. There's just so much enjoyment in warm bread, but it doesn't work for sourdough. If you try to slice it while it's still hot warm, it'll get gluey. You want to wait and let it cool off and then enjoy the fruits of your labor. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you go back and watch each episode, post any questions you might have. Enjoy.